Title: I spent 74 hours inside a buried shipping container in the Cascades. The police found the bunker, but they didn't find him. Part 1. Posted by u/Cascadia Lost. I'm writing this from a motel room about 3 towns over from where I live. I have a chair wedged under the door handle, and the curtains are duct taped to the wall so not even a sliver of light can get in or out. The officer who took my statement told me I was safe, that the area is swarming with Stadies and canine units, but my brain hasn't caught up to that logic yet. Every time the ice machine in the hallway clunks, I almost throw up. People always say I never thought it would happen to me. That's a cliché for a reason. I'm a 32-year-old landscape architect. I drive a Volvo. I pay my taxes. I'm boring. I'm not the guy who gets taken. I'm the guy who watches the news about the guy who gets taken and thinks, why didn't he just keep driving? I guess I'm writing this because I need to get it out of my head before the details start to blur. The detective said trauma messes with memory, and I don't want to lose a single detail that might help catch this freak. It started on Tuesday. I was driving back from a site survey near Leavenworth, Washington. If you know the area, you know it's beautiful. Huge, jagged peaks, dense pines, that specific Pacific Northwest mist that hangs in the air. I was taking a Forest Service road, NF62, I think, to verify a property line for a client who wanted to build an off-grid cabin. It was about 4:30 p.m. The sun was already dipping behind the mountains, casting those long blue shadows that make the woods look like deep water. I came around a blind curve and saw a truck. It was a matte gray Ford, older model, with the hood up. It was blocking about 3/4 of the narrow gravel track. A guy was standing by the front tire waving his arms. He looked normal. That's the thing that haunts me. He wasn't wearing a hockey mask. He was wearing a flannel shirt, a puffy vest, and a Mariners baseball cap. He looked like every other dad in Washington State. I rolled my window down about 2 inches. "Car trouble?" I asked. "Transmission seized, I think," he said. His voice was calm, apologetic even. "I haven't seen a car in 2 hours. Do you have a sat phone? No bars out here." I checked my phone. "No service," I said. "I can give you a lift back to the highway. It's about 40 minutes. "That would be a lifesaver," he said. He smiled. It was a genuine smile. "Let me just grab my back." He walked around to the passenger side of his truck. I unlocked my doors. That was the mistake. That was the moment my life split into before and after. I didn't see him pull anything. I just heard the passenger door of his truck slam, and then my driver's side door was ripped open. I turned my head, expecting him to be on the other side, and zap! It wasn't like in the movies where you get knocked out and wake up groggy. It was a taser. My whole body locked up. Every muscle contracted at once, like I was being crushed by a hydraulic press. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't scream. I just convulsed in the seat as he leaned in. He didn't say anything. He just reached over, put my car in park, and then hit me again. The world went white, then gray, then nothing. I woke up to the smell. It smelled like wet iron, ammonia, and turning earth. It was pitch black, not the darkness of a bedroom at night, but a heavy, suffocating absence of light that felt like a physical weight on my eyes. I tried to sit up and immediately dry heaved. My head was pounding in rhythm with my heartbeat. I reached out, my hands trembling. Cold metal, corrugated, damp. I crawled. My knees scraped against concrete. I went about 6 feet and hit a wall. I turned right, 4 feet, another wall. I turned right again, 6 feet, another wall. I was in a box, roughly 6 by 8 feet. I patted my pockets. Wallet gone, phone gone, keys gone. But, and I almost cried with relief, he hadn't taken my watch. It's an old Casio with a backlight. I pressed the button. The tiny green light illuminated my prison.
It wasn't a room. It was a section of a shipping container, but the walls were reinforced with welded steel bars, and the floor was poured concrete. In the corner, there was a plastic Home Depot bucket, the toilet, presumably, and a jug of water. Above me, about 8 feet up, was a steel hatch, no handle on the inside. I checked the time, 11:34 p.m. I had been out maybe 6 hours. I screamed until my throat bled. I threw my body against the walls. I stood on the bucket and pounded on the ceiling hatch until my knuckles split. Nothing. Just the sound of my own panic echoing in the metal box. Eventually, exhaustion took over. I sat in the corner, shivering. It was freezing. The air was stale and heavy, which meant ventilation was poor. I realized then that I wasn't just in a shipping container. Based on the temperature and the smell of the earth, I was buried underground.
The routine started the next morning, or what I assume was morning. I heard a heavy thud, thud, thud from above. Footsteps, heavy boots on dirt, then the clang of metal. The hatch opened. A blinding beam of sunlight cut through the darkness, making me recoil. A silhouette appeared in the square of light. "Water," a voice said. It was him, the mariner's cap guy. "Please," I croaked. "Please, my wife, she's pregnant. Just tell me what you want." "My wife isn't pregnant. I don't even have a wife. I read somewhere you should humanize yourself to captors." He didn't respond to that. He lowered a small basket on a rope. Inside was a protein bar and a bruised apple. "Eat," he said. "Why are you doing this?" I yelled. He pulled the rope up. "Quiet or no light." He slammed the hatch. The darkness rushed back in. I ate the food. I hate myself for it, but I ate it like an animal. The hunger was primal. The worst part wasn't the hunger or the cold. It was the sound. About 3 hours after he fed me, I heard it. It was faint, coming through the wall to my left. Scratch, scratch, scratch. I pressed my ear against the cold metal. "Hello?" I whispered. Silence. Then a voice, so quiet I thought I was hallucinating. "Is someone there?" It was a woman. "Yes," I shouted. "Yes, I'm here. My name is David. I think I'm in a box." "We're all in boxes," she whispered. Her voice sounded thin, brittle. "I'm Sarah." "Sarah, how long have you been here?" There was a long pause. "I don't know," she said. "I stopped counting after the snow melted." My blood ran cold. The snow melted? It was mid-July. "Sarah, listen to me. We're gonna get out. Did you see him? The guy in the gray truck?" "The groundskeeper. He doesn't like noise. Be quiet, David. If you make noise, he pours the water in." "The water?" "The hose. He puts the hose through the vent. Cold water. He fills it up to your neck." I backed away from the wall, terrified. I looked up at the hatch. I noticed a small pipe, maybe 2 inches wide, welded near the top corner, the vent. I spent the rest of the day huddled in the dark, whispering to Sarah. She told me she was a hiker from Portland. She told me there was another box on the other side of her, but the man inside stopped answering a long time ago. She told me about the groundskeeper. "She watches," she said. "He has cameras, infrared. He wants to see how long we keep our routine." I looked around the dark corners of my cell. In the top corner, a tiny red LED blinked. I hadn't noticed it before. I felt a violation so deep it made my skin crawl. He was watching me right now, sitting somewhere in a cabin, drinking coffee, watching a grown man curl into a ball in a buried metal coffin. Day 2. I decided I needed to die. Not actually die, but I needed him to think I was dying. Sarah told me he usually came twice a day, morning and evening. He was punctual. When the footsteps approached for the evening feed, I lay on the concrete floor. I contorted my body, twisting my limbs, and held my breath until my lungs burned. The hatch opened. The light hit me. "Feed," he said.
I didn't move. "Hey!" I stayed limp. "Shit," he muttered. I heard him walk away. Panic surged. Was he just going to leave me to rot? Had I gambled and lost? Then I heard the sound of machinery, a winch. He wasn't coming down. He was lowering something. A ladder slid down the opening, clanging against the floor. "If you're faking, I'll bury you alive," he called down. He began to descend. I watched through the slit of my eyelids. Boots, jeans, the vest. He had a cattle pod in his hand. He reached the bottom rung. He stepped onto the floor. He was big, bigger than he looked in the truck. He kicked my leg. I stayed limp. He bent down, reaching for my neck to check for a pulse. "Now!" I didn't punch him. I didn't have the leverage. I drove my thumb directly into his left eye. I have never heard the sound like that before. It was a wet pop, followed by a tearing sound of a metal sheet. He reeled back, dropping the cattle pod. I scrambled up, grabbed the heavy plastic water jug, and swung it with everything I had. It connected with his temple with a sickening crack. He went down hard, twitching. I didn't wait to see if he was unconscious. I scrambled up the ladder. My muscles were stiff, my head swam, but adrenaline is a hell of a drug. I vaulted out of the hatch and rolled onto the forest floor. The air, sweet pine-scented air. It was night, but the moon was full. I was in a clearing. Around me were 3 other mounds of dirt, with hatches. Pipes stuck out of the ground like periscopes. "Sarah!" I screamed. I ran to the mound next to mine. "Sarah!" I tried to open the hatch. It was padlocked from the outside. I looked around. A cabin sat about 50 yards away, lights on. I had a choice: try to find the keys in the cabin or run for help. The man in the hole was groaning. He was waking up. "I'm coming back," I yelled at Sarah's vent. "I swear to God, I'm coming back with the police." I ran.
I ran barefoot. The forest floor in the Cascades is not forgiving. Pine needles, sharp rocks, brambles. Within 5 minutes, my feet were shredded. I didn't feel it. I just ran downhill. Water flows downhill. Water leads to rivers. Rivers lead to roads. That was the only logic my brain could process. Behind me, I heard a sound that stopped my heart. An ATV engine revving. He was coming, and he knew these woods. I dove into a thicket of ferns as the headlights swept over the trees above me. The ATV roared past, about 20 yards to my left. He was cutting me off. He was guessing I'd go for the logging road. I changed direction. I went straight into the thickest, nastiest brush I could find. Devil's Club tore at my arms. I fell into a ravine, sliding 20 feet down mud and shale, dislocating my finger. I popped it back in and kept moving. I ran for what felt like hours. The moon began to set. It was getting darker. Every time the wind rustled the trees, I thought it was him. I started hallucinating. I saw the gray truck parked behind every tree. I heard Sarah's voice whispering in the wind. "He watches, David. He watches." Around 4 a.m., I saw it, a paved road. I stumbled onto the asphalt. It felt warm. I walked down the center line. I didn't care if a car hit me. I just wanted to be seen. A logging truck came around the bend about 20 minutes later. I waved my arms, screaming. The driver slammed on his brakes. He was a big guy with a beard. He looked terrified of me. I must have looked like a demon, covered in mud, blood, and filth, barefoot, wild-eyed. "Help me," I sobbed. "Please don't kill me." He let me in the cab and radioed the police. The aftermath. The police arrived quickly. I drew them a map on a napkin in the ambulance. I told them about the clearing. I told them about the eye. I told them about Sarah. They launched a massive raid, SWAT, helicopters, the works. They found the cabin. They found the clearing. They found the shipping containers buried in the ground. Here's the part that keeps me in this motel room with the door blocked. The containers were empty. My container, clean,
bleached, no bucket, no jug. Sarah's container? Empty. The third container? Empty. But they found things in the cabin. They found monitors, a wall of them. He was watching. They found hard drives, terabytes of footage. The police showed me a still image to confirm it was the place. It was a grainy infrared shot of me sleeping in the box. But then they showed me the timestamp. The timestamp was from 2 weeks ago. "That's impossible," I told the detective. "I was taken on Tuesday. It's Friday. I was in there for 3 days." The detective looked at me with this pitying, horrified expression. "David," he said, "you've been missing for 17 days. I don't remember the first 2 weeks. The doctors say he must have kept me heavily sedated, drugged me, fed me, kept me in a coma until he was ready to start the game, until he was ready to turn the cameras on. But that's not the worst part. The worst part is Sarah. They didn't find anyone named Sarah. No missing persons report matches her description. But on the audio recording from my box, they can hear her voice, clear as day. They can hear us talking. But when they checked the audio from the box next to mine, the one she was supposed to be in, silence. There was no one in that box, David. The police think there were speakers embedded in the wall of my container. Sarah wasn't a prisoner. Sarah was a recording or a live feed from somewhere else. She was part of the psychological torture. She was there to give me hope so he could watch it break. They haven't found the groundskeeper. They found his truck abandoned 10 miles north, burned to a crisp. But they found a note in the cabin. It wasn't addressed to the police. It was taped to the monitor that had been recording my cell. It just said, "Subject 14, viable, aggressive, release approved." He didn't lose me. I didn't escape. He let me go. And now I'm sitting in this motel room, and I can't stop shaking. Because release approved implies that the experiment isn't over. It just means the field test has moved to a new location. I'm going to try to sleep now, but I'm keeping the lights on. If you're driving in the Cascades and you see a gray Ford broken down on the side of the road, don't be a hero. Just keep driving. Edit 1. I just heard the ice machine again, but it didn't clunk. It sounded like a footstep. I'm calling the police again. Edit 2. The police swept the hallway. Nobody there. They said I'm just paranoid, experiencing PTSD. They're probably right, but when I looked out the peephole after they left, I swear I saw something in the parking lot. A gray, matte truck. It's probably just a coincidence. It's a common color. Right.